you beautiful people out there. I'm right in the middle of getting some videos taken care of, but wanted to reach out to you guys and let you know it has been a rough weekend for us here. Um, Yesterday afternoon, we lost one of our dogs. She'd been sick. She'd been sick for a little while. She was old. When we got it was our black and white Chihuahua. We named Pepper, and we noticed, the last couple of weeks that she was getting a little slower and she wasn't eating as much, and her hind legs were starting to swell, and we were getting a little concerned with her, and we weren't sure exactly what to do. We thought at one point that we were going to be taking her to the vet, but we weren't sure about that because we knew she was old. We got her when she was when we got her from the shelter, they said that she was 7 years old, and we've had her for about 9, 10 years. Although one of our vets said she was probably closer to 4 years old, but I don't know. All I know is that she was probably anywhere from 13 to 17 years old. She was an old lady, and we got her after one of our other. We had a red Chihuahua named Allie, and she had gotten out of our yard and she had gotten hit by a car. She had passed away, and she was at that time we had 3 dogs. We had a little Brussels Shih Tzu mix named Teddy, and we had a boxer pit mix named Princess. And all of these dogs were shelter dogs. They're all shelter dogs. Actually, Teddy was more like a stray that just showed up at our house and decided not to leave. And so when Allie passed away, like we usually do, we wait a few months because we want to mourn that dog. That was part of our lives. And I'm not of I'm not of the belief you get another dog right away. I think you mourn the dog that you lost, and going through mourning, it takes a process. And so when we were at another shelter event, they saw Pepper and they brought her home, and she became Teddy's new companion because it's because Teddy and Princess, the two of them together was didn't quite mix well because Princess being a bigger dog and Teddy being a small dog, just things didn't quite work the way they should have. And so we got Pepper, and she was a great dog. She was had a good temperament. Her and it was funny because she really told. Dahlia, who's a border collie, a bigger dog, like 60, about 40, 50, 60 pounds, 60-pound dog, and yet Pepper would growl at Dahlia to keep her in line and everything. And it was kind of funny and kind of comical but what would happen is but we got Pepper to replace Allie, and then and we've had weird luck with dogs. Princess, unfortunately, we got into an argument with our landlord, and the landlord wouldn't let us keep her because she's considered a dangerous animal. Because she's a pit bull. And I'm like, she's the gentlest thing you'd ever. She would. I remember taking her to my daughter's, Matt's softball games, and she'd just sit right next to me, and she just wouldn't move, just wouldn't growl, would just sit there. And I remember one time we took her to the dog park, and these other dogs barked at her. One lunged and bit her on the lip, and she didn't do anything. She just sat there. So I took Princess over to a friend of mine who agreed to keep her until things changed. And then, of course, I had a falling out with that friend, and my friend was like, I'll keep her until you're able, And then, of course, my friend moved and took my dog with her. So she essentially stole my dog. And I didn't find this out until one day I'm looking on Instagram, and there's my dog on Instagram. And I was like really upset. So, but we had Teddy and we had Pepper, and they were good together. They were really, really good together. And then we lost Teddy, I want to say a couple years ago, but my daughter says no, more like 4 years ago. We think that one of the flea collars that we got her leached or whatever, because he had this tilting head, and we could never figure out what was going on. Even the vet couldn't figure out what was going on with him, with the tilting head. And he ended up having seizures, and he passed away in my wife's arms, and that was rough. But we got through it, and we knew he was in pain, but those seizures came on one after another very quickly before we could even think about taking him to a vet. And and not to, because I know there are going to be some people who are going to like, why didn't you just put your dog, take him to the vet and have them peacefully euthanized? And I'm like, yeah, I'm more along the line of the belief that if you take your pet to the vet to try to keep them alive, and the vet comes back and says, sorry, we can't do anything, to be better if we put your animal down, I'm more on, I can go with that. But I think it's more natural, my opinion, to have the pet pass at the home, around family, holding the dog and petting it and trying to comfort it as it's going through. And we understand, so you wouldn't want to go through that kind of, well, I wouldn't want anybody to put me down either. And I just thought it was better for both dogs that they passed away around family. Because if I were to take them to the vet, first of all, we wouldn't all be able to go to the vet to say our goodbyes. That happened more than 10 years ago with our cat Smokey, who had died of feline AIDS, and it was just Tyler and me. And I felt kind of like I wish the rest of the family was here to say their goodbyes, because we rushed Smokey to try to save him, and the vet was like, no, I'm sorry, there's nothing we could do. He's actively dying. And so that was rough. And so, of all of our dogs that we've had pass, Allie, Teddy, and now Pepper, we've had them pass near us or with us. And it was better for us as a family to be able to say our goodbyes and to be able to grieve. We have had Teddy and now Pepper cremated. Pepper's at the crematorium right now to be cremated. We're going to hold her ashes, and we're going to put her ashes next to Teddy's up on the mantle, so that they're together with their collars. And the reason we do that, of course, we pay we pay pretty good money to have that done. I know a lot of people would like, why don't you just bury your pets in the backyard? And we actually learned that lesson when Allie passed away, and that my wife and my daughter buried Allie, and then I put Princess out one morning, and not to be too graphic, but apparently she dug Allie back up, and I got to witness that, and I had to take care of that for my family by myself, by the way. And it was horrifying, and it was, one of those moments where you're like, I had like a lot of mixed emotions, like shock and anger and grief, and I didn't, and the dog was just, I think, Princess was just doing what she dug her back up. So we've decided as a family to never do that again. That we would rather have our pets cremated and keep their ashes here at the house. And the strange thing is, and I know this is weird, but even after Pepper had passed, I could feel her spirit still in the house and running around. It was kind of a weird thing, because I could tell something was wrong with Pepper, because she was still acting pretty normal even through Thanksgiving. She was under our table, waiting to see if she can get any scraps of our Thanksgiving meal. But I began to notice that she would come to my wife, especially my wife, and would look at her, and you could kind of just look in her eyes, and it was like you could kind of read, like, I know you're my people, but who are you? It was like she was trying to figure out who we were. She spent a lot of days, a lot of hours sleeping in her bed underneath the table in the entryway, which is where we had her table, or her bed, and it's where she passed away. And it's really rough. I mean, I'm in my 50s, and I still, every time one of our pets passes, it still hits me hard, and of course Dahlia is like, I guess, wandering, looking around, trying to figure out where she's at, and of course she's not here. And and the sad part is that my wife and my daughter got matching Christmas sweaters for the dogs, and Pepper, passed away in her Christmas sweater, and of course we brought it home from before it was. It's just it's a rough weekend to go through that. We knew that she would be passing soon, and like I said, I wanted her to pass around family who would lovingly be there with her and to pet her and to comfort her through her. And it was rough. It was really rough. And again, right now we're gonna mourn her loss, and we're not gonna get another dog right away. In fact, I don't even know if we're even gonna get another dog at all, at least for a while, because this one really hurt. And yeah, this one's gonna sting for a while, because that was a beautiful dog, and I'm the one that named her. I'm the one that got to name her. Where did we name her? And I called her Pepper, because she was black and white with little brown flecks, and she reminded me of Pepper Flakes. And I said, that's why I call her Pepper. And of course, my daughter gave her the middle name Roni. So her name was Pepper Roni. But yeah, if you've got, I'll ask you guys this, in the comments, if you've got a dog that touched your heart and they're gone, and leave a comment and let me know what their name was and how much they meant to you. And hopefully we can all grieve together, because this one was, it's just kind of this one kind of stings. Thank you for listening to me. I will check you all later.